Can we talk a little bit about the work and dedication needed in order to reach this level of self-mastery? Because I think a lot of times when we talk about, the spiritual community, it's a lot of like just videos on the internet and watching those videos, and there's not a lot of work being put in. So maybe you can speak to that a little bit.
Yes. Okay, so this is not informational. So in other words, the mind, right, constantly wants more and more information, and that's because it doesn't authentically know anything, and because it's disconnected from the source point of all things. So the ego mind is ravenous for so-called spiritual information, and gathering all this information doesn't change our state of being or quality of life in any way, shape, or form. And that to me is the biggest shortcoming of the so-called spiritual community, is that these things must be embodied. And that's why everything that I do is prescriptive. So I share a teaching, and then there's a meditation for you to have the tangible experience itself. And therefore it is known. More of the self is now known. And that's what the key is the experiential knowingness of the self through these truths. And so it must be embodied. And therefore, just taking in information doesn't change anything at all. In fact, most likely what it does is it adds to the vanity of the ego mind identity and actually makes it more difficult for someone to actually surrender to themselves. So the dedication is essential. I mean, don't think of it in any other way, Justin, than if you want to get quite proficient at anything, how do we do that? We do it over and over and over and over again. We make a sincere dedication to whatever the endeavor actually is. And this is not different in any way. The difference with this, though, is that every single facet of your life will be improved. Your inner peace, your compassion, your power, your wisdom, your patience, your forgiveness, the love that you're able to, the space that you're able to hold for those. So the difference is that this is the only worthwhile investment that we ever make, is investment in the self, but it absolutely requires dedication. And I like to joke, someone asked me a long time ago if they would reach enlightenment in this life. And I actually said, if you think you're going to do it in between answering emails, you're delusional. So it has to become, it doesn't mean you don't do your work, but it has to become a sincere focus. And the more we put into that, and which is really the self, the more we're going to get out of the self.